We have 18 Pokemon types, but only a handful of field effects for a select few. And with Game Freak adding new ones at a rate slower than a Shuckle strapped to a Deoxys, I thought we'd help them out and give every remaining Pokemon type their own field effect. For those of you who don't know what a field effect is, well, it's essentially these things. Weather effects, which we have 4 of, covering these 4 types. Oh yeah, and 2 of them got boosted with harsher sunshine and heavier rain. Pretty creative if you ask me. Then we got a brand new concept of terrains introduced in Gen 7, which covered these 4 types, which means these 10 types still need some type of love. And do I have something pretty special for them? Some of these types are going to get the weather treatment, some will get the unique terrains, but I also took the liberty of creating my own type of field effect that's similar to a domain.
Like a domain expansion?
Yes, you cultured mammo swine. But more on that later. For now, let's start with the weather effects. First up is the flying weather effect, Breeze, which lasts for 5 turns if created using the Strong Current ability. This is a new ability I'm working on for a future video, or the move Breeze. Or it'll last for 8 turns if this weather is created while holding a Gale Rock. Yup, we got new items over here too. Works just like any of the other 4 weather rocks in such that it boosts the duration of Breeze. Now, what does Breeze exactly do? Well, my beloved viewer, Breeze raises the critical hit rate of every flying type Pokemon and raises the speed of all flying type Pokemon by 50%, which is kinda nuts when you think of the kind of Pokemon that would probably learn this move. Like, can you imagine a Gale Wings Talonflame with an increased crit chance? Now that's a terrifying idea. Moving on, we've got the next weather effect that's honestly becoming somewhat of a reality in today's day and age, and that's pollution. So please recycle responsibly. Pollution lasts for 5 turns if created using the ability Toxic Fumes, another new ability for the future, if we survive long enough. Or by using the move Pollution, or it'll last 8 turns if you summon this weather effect while holding a fumed rock. Now, for Pollution, this field effect is just like its name suggests, and it's absolutely toxic. First of all poison Pokemon have reduced accuracy. Now, that might not sound too bad until you realize that Pollution has a second ability, and that is that all non-poison and non-steel type Pokemon become badly poisoned at the end of each turn, if they don't already have an affliction. This one is kinda brutal, but honestly would give poison type Pokemon a much needed buff. Sucks for fairy types, that's for sure. Now for the last weather effect, we have the weather effect for dark types. And while I was contemplating the name Pitch Black because, well, I'm a huge Vin Diesel fan, I ultimately ended up going with Darkness. Well, because Pokemon is a kid's game, and the dark type getting a weather move named Darkness feels way more appropriate. Now, for this weather effect, the ability that can summon it will be known as Pitch Black because, well, reasons stated earlier, and if your Pokemon is holding the item Night Rock while creating this effect, it'll last 8 turns instead of 5. But what does this field effect even do? Well, it's kinda simple really, but also kinda trolly. 1, it makes the move Dark Void a 100% accuracy move, and 2, it increases the evasion of all dark type Pokemon by 50%. Yeah, I know Darkrai is kind of the only Pokemon that gets the first benefit, but who's to say more Pokemon won't learn the move in the future? It wouldn't be the first time Game Freak took a Pokemon signature move and, well, gave it to another Pokemon. Now moving on to terrains, we've got 4 new ones. Starting with Muddy Terrain, which if you've watched my recent video, you might be familiar with this terrain. However, I decided to give it a much needed revision since a bunch of you competitive nerds are forgetting this is all make-believe and really got bent over backwards for how unbalanced it was. So in an attempt to fix an issue that doesn't really exist, here's the new and improved Muddy Terrain. The user turns the ground into mud for 5 turns, and this halves the speed of all grounded, non-ground type Pokemon. There you guys go, a perfectly balanced terrain. Moving on to a new terrain and one for bug types, here is Silky Terrain, where the user turns the ground into silk for 5 turns and increases the priority of all bug type moves used used by grounded Pokemon, which seems kinda based when you realize Pokemon like Kleavor, Slitherwing, and Lokix are about to go crazy with this terrain. And now let's move on to a more jagged field effect for the Steel type, and that's Sharp Terrain, which is where the user turns the ground into sharp metallic objects, yeesh, that grounded Pokemon can then use to increase their critical hit rate by 1 stage. Nothing too crazy here, but then you gotta think about the fact that terrains and weather effects overlap, meaning Breeze and Sharp Terrain would give your grounded flying type Pokemon a +2 critical hit rate. But then you also realize that there's no such thing as a grounded flying type Pokemon. Well, at least for now. Lastly, for our final terrain, we have the Ghost type field effect known as Eerie Terrain, where the user turns the ground spooky. Not sure what that actually means, but work with me here. And the effects of stat-lowering moves and abilities are now doubled on all grounded Pokemon. This means moves like Scary Face and abilities like Intimidate hit twice as hard. Oh yeah, Incineroar just got way scarier. But that's pretty much it for the 4 new terrains. Oh, there's also going to be 4 new abilities: a Muddy Surge, Silky Surge, Sharp Surge, and Eerie Surge. But again, that's for a future video. But as a treat, here's some new items for these new terrains. You know, that Sharp Seed though? Awesome. Now we've made it to my favorite part of the video, where I get to share a brand new field mechanic for at least 11% of you to hate on, but for the other 98%, I truly appreciate the support. Introducing domains. Now, the most important thing to know about domains, they last until the user faints, switches out, or if another domain is used, canceling it out. And 2, domains act like the ability Shadow Tag, not allowing any Pokemon to switch out except for the user of the said domain. Now, before you guys start fuming at the mouth, how about you let me introduce the 3 new domains and then give me your 100% unapologetic opinions on it? But first, let's start with the Dragon type domain, Lair, which on top of the 2 previous effects that we just discussed, it also negates the effects of all items in battle, as long as this domain user is still on the field after activating the move. This is mainly because dragons are known for hoarding things in their dens, aka lairs, and I think this is a pretty cool aspect for a brand new field mechanic that would definitely call for some very interesting new strategies. However, I am also debating on the amount of times you could use a domain in battle. Like, maybe we make it similar to the move Revival Blessing, in that the move only has 1 PP. I think that would be a neat way to balance this out, especially with the next 2 domains. Next up is the fighting type domain, Dojo, which again, along with trapping all the other Pokemon until the user faints or leaves the battlefield, or if another domain is used, it also boosts the power of all damaging moves by every Pokemon on the field. Also, all Pokemon lose a small amount of their HP after each of their attacks land, essentially working as a free life orb for literally every Pokemon on the field. Now, you might think this is absolutely broken, but not really when you think about the fact that Pokemon are trapped, and now you have to lose HP in order to deal with the domain at hand, which is a key aspect at play. But these 2 domains are cool and all, but not nearly as cool as the last one I got for you guys, and that's the normal type domain known as Limbo. The special field effect this domain has is insane. It literally removes all type effectiveness and resistances, including immunities, making every Pokemon essentially a normal type. It also removes stab bonuses and pretty much just puts every Pokemon in a sort of limbo state, which isn't a great state to be in if I do say so myself. So how about you get yourself out of limbo and make sure you like and subscribe to the channel for more creative mind-bending Pokemon videos like this. Ooh, you like that? Anyway, I'm Satumi KO, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Check out this video next, and see you soon. Bye.